Welcome to Fieldsports Britain. Coming up, we're in Oxfordshire with ladies who don't just lunch, they shoot. We're in Staffordshire learning how to put a scope on a rifle. We're in Devonshire continuing Mike Yardley's series on how to shoot pheasants straighter. But first, I've been on the most difficult partridge day of my life.
Take a team of shooters who reckon they're pretty magnificent, then reduce them to rubble. How did Challacombe Shoot on Exmoor do that? Gamekeeper Rob Eggins put on a partridge day including shooters from the Royal Berkshire Shooting School and sporting agency Roxton's, but he made them use just 28-bore shotguns.
You only took on the shoot quite recently, didn't you?
Absolutely. We took the shoot on, started to set it up in February, took it on probably in April. And I started with a complete blank canvas in April. And from there we had to get all the crops done, get all the pens, and simply do everything from the start. So it's been a busy time up until now.
With Challacombe's reputation as a superb shoot, at the start of the day guns know they should be nervous.
Have a good day.
Nice to be here.
Yeah,
Very privileged to be here.
You all know that you're using 28 bores, so I mean, please, shoot what gives you pleasure. I want a few shots, but also I'm trying to beat you at the same time.
The drives are a massacre, and not a massacre of the partridges. This is the wholesale destruction of shooters' egos.
So just to show you what I'm using today, this is my grandmother's 410 shotgun. It's a pretty little Hammer Army and Navy Stores gun. It was my grandfather's wedding present to her. How nice. So you pull that back, close it up, aim it and bang, and then manually extract the cartridge. Quite slow. And look at the size of the cartridge. I mean, that is absolutely tiny, isn't it? I haven't got a chance.
The beating team is well organised and the pickers up are excellent, but we're not giving the dogs much to do. After a drive, shooter Henry Greswold says he is humbled.
We're very humbled, actually. Which is a first.
You're talking about giving up shooting altogether?
I am. I'm going to take up picking up, but as someone rightly pointed out, I can't train dogs either, so I'll stick to handing the drinks around, I think.
You wouldn't have a great deal to do today if you were a picker up, would you?
No, the dogs get a nice walk.
By the end of each drive, I have a pile of 410 cartridges at my feet and not a great deal to show for it. We all know there's no point aiming at a bird unless we can bring it down. The last thing any of us want is peppered partridges at large at the end of the day. Even shooting the shootable birds, however, they are infernally difficult to hit. And it is all made worse by the locals who know that some big shots are being embarrassed, so they come out to watch. Occasionally there's something for them to applaud. Do any of the shooters still fancy themselves as hotshots? I asked Tizzy Macpherson of Royal Berkshire Shooting School if he reckons he is the best shot of the day.
Possibly best shot of the day, is that fair to say?
No. Luckiest, I think. Luckiest, probably. It was a brilliant drive. I think you found it a little tough, Gordon.
I think Agadown is probably the worst shot of the day, but lessons on Monday morning, shooting school, 9 o'clock, I should be there with Tizzy. I think fantastic birds, we're shooting 28 bores, and I think ultimately it's going to be tough.
It's been a thoroughly enjoyable day. It's been absolutely fantastic and a great challenge, We've seen some very, very high pheasants, partridge.
I look forward to bringing all our clients down here and seeing if they can shoot slightly better than me, which I'm sure they will. But great place, amazing place. Angus runs a brilliant shoot, always has done. Just a great sportsman, produces great sport and
fantastic barbecue.
And fantastic.
That's not bad, is it?
Yeah.
No.
And the wine's quite good too. Yeah.
Now, what were you trying to do today? You're trying to humiliate us.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, it's more of a case of trying it out from the start and hoping to humiliate you. that was the plan, but no. It's just we want to set a shoot of seriously good quality, give people a lot of shooting, and kill very little birds.
And you got some of the top names in the trade long, which is great. And it was hilarious to see them dwarfed by these birds. I mean, they were very, very high.
They were very, very high. They were dwarfed by the birds and demoralised, I think, along with using the 28 foot.
What was the bag at the end of the day?
The bag was 206, and we fired 1,590 shots.
1,590 shots from some of the best shots you would hope in the country. That's
some of the nicest shots you would hope to see. They would be very experienced line of guns. Very experienced line of guns.
What a day. By the end of it, guns need a drink. They get more. There's a wonderful barbecue lunch for them by the side of the little reservoir on one of Challacombe's steepest drives. For more about the shooting here, contact Luyton Lodge, www.luytonlodge.com.
Well, that wasn't easy at all. Now, we have an advertisement.
If you like the best, come and test the best. Try the new Swarovski Z4i, the Z5 and the Z6 rifle scopes, mounted on Zara rifles and in association with RWS Norma Ammunition. Tuesday, 28th September from 9 a.m. at Calton Moor Rifle Range near Ashbourne in Derbyshire. Thursday, 30th September at Bisley in Surrey. And Thursday, 14th of October at Trockery in Tayside.
There you are. And if you want to advertise your product or organisation or business on Fieldsports Channel, get in touch with me, Charlie, at fieldsportschannel.tv. Now let's go to Devon, where Mike Yardley has some top tips.
One of the greatest tests of a shot is to cope with two or more birds coming at you at the same time. We're going to look now at how to shoot at what we call a right and left. Well, spot the deliberate error. This is, of course, an over and under, sometimes called an under and over, but still when you shoot two birds consecutively, it's still called a right and left, because with the side by side, usually you'll shoot your right barrel first and then your left. Let's load the gun and let's have a go. And remember, after you've taken the first shot, there may be a need for a momentary check just to make sure that your head is still down on the comb and that your weight is still nicely balanced over the front foot. One can only admire the skill of a gun who takes two birds well in front, reloads and then takes another bird behind. What we're going to do now is show you how to take a bird behind the line safely. We've already talked about the advisability of stepping into the line of the bird when you can. It's an aid to fluent shooting. But sometimes you won't be able to shoot a bird in front and you may want to take it behind the line. Before we consider that as a specific technique though, let me make this qualification. I don't think you should be taking birds behind the line if you're new to game shooting. It's a technique to develop once you've managed all the other basics and you feel confident shooting birds in front. With that warning in place, let's consider how you should take a bird behind the line properly. You mark your bird. There it is. I'm going to shoot it. I can't shoot it in front. I bring the gun to the vertical and now my front foot and the gun move together and there I am safely taking the gun behind the line. What you mustn't do is swing through like this, endangering the other guns. As you make that turn, the gun must come into a vertical position, make the turn, and there you are, bang. Hopefully you've bagged another bird. And just another couple of points on these shots behind the line. Firstly, don't forget your safety. Don't forget that 45-degree angle as you come around, because you may well have pickers up behind you. And particularly important that you keep that on board, that you don't let safety slip just because you assume it's safe to your back. It may well not be. 45 degrees still applies. Now, as for the marksmanship, the shooting of those birds, the so-called Texas heart shot, shooting the pheasant up its backside, is not an easy shot. And I think my best advice to you is to actually go and try this at a shooting school so you can get the chance to really practice the technique properly. And I would say that applies to a lot of stuff. If you want to shoot double guns, go and practice on clay birds first. And indeed, most shooting schools, good shooting schools, have got a high tower. They've probably got 40, 70 foot, 100 or 120 foot high towers, and that's a great place to go and refine your shooting technique.
These aren't just ladies who lunch. They're ladies who like to get together to shoot. It's a regular event at the Oxford Gun Company.
Why should men have all the fun in the clay shooting industry? Ladies enjoy it too, so it's about time they had a day out.
As long as you can handle the gun, you've got it placed right in your shoulder and you've got the basics, then you can shoot as easy as a man can, even better sometimes.
Ladies can shoot just as well as men, if not better, because they've got better concentration.
As their shooting shows, they can be fun, charming, and completely ruthless. It is still seen as a man's sport. Back in the 1930s, society considered it fast for women to shoot. Happily, those days are gone.
Ladies struggle with pressure, so I decided to do it a little bit more relaxed with a breakfast, practice on exactly the same targets in the morning, just with tuition, so it just gets their eye on a little bit and gives them a little bit of confidence. Then they have their lunch, they sit down, they relax, they chat about the targets, and then they're ready to face the same targets in the afternoon with a little bit of pressure but not too much, just easing it off.
So to the all-important afternoon competition. Although not a team competition, the ladies have been shooting in groups across 5 of the stands at the Oxford Gun Company. The competition is keenly fought. These are Oxfordshire ladies. Doug Florent is on hand to offer a little informal guidance and to prove that chivalry is not dead. He also acts as loader.
Okay, here we go.
Although it's a relaxed day, the spirit of competition is in evidence as each target comes under scrutiny from those waiting to shoot.
Well done.
Oh. It's tense and there's little time to chat as the groups move from target to target. Certain ladylike qualities, however, go right out of the window.
Yeah, good shooting.
Oh.
At the end of the day, there are winners, and the joy of the high gun is quite clear. Let's see who's won.
Check the place's door.
And in second place, it's Dawn Reed, who sums up the day.
Getting together, having a bit of fun, that's what I see it as. Just good day shooting, getting a bit of practice in if you're a bit rusty, if you're good at it, just getting back to the basics, having someone there with you, good lunch.
So the winner is Annette.
Yay!
But it's Annette May who carries off the top prize.
I shot well this morning, and then I shot very well when we went for the competition, but I didn't think I'd have won it, so tried to be calm. And Robert, that took us out, was very, helped us this morning, and it just relaxed us for this afternoon.
If you want to know more about Ladies' Days at the Oxford Gun Company, visit www.oxfordguncompany.co.uk. To Staffordshire, where our friends from Zeiss are showing us how to put one of their scopes on a rifle. Got your scope? Got your rifle? Got your mounts? Now you need to put them all together to make that perfect shooting setup. I'm off to Staffordshire, where Mike Dickinson, who owns the Calton Moor range, is setting up a rifle with a Zeiss scope on top, with help from John Rigby of Zeiss. Calton Moor is extraordinary. The range itself is a tunnel underground, more on that in a moment. Above ground are paddocks where Mike keeps a herd of red deer.
What?
So what you'll do, you'd mount the scope up, and before you tighten these down, you will twist so the crosshairs are perfectly straight, so that your movements when you adjust are going up and down and left and right, not at a diagonal. Just hold the rifle perfectly level, level it up. You can get spirit levels, but I can do it just as quick without.
Yeah.
And then, while you've still got forward and backwards movement, get the eye relief right, so that when the gun's in your shoulder, you've got a full circle of image in front of you, not anything obscured.
Now, when John was showing us how to do that, when John had his eye relief, is that a way of telling whether a scope's good or bad? I mean, he had a nice long distance.
You want normally about 2.5, 3 inches. Then that way, if there is any recoil, it won't jump back in your face. And scopes are designed to do that.
What's that ring called?
That's called a Weatherby ring, or an idiot ring, depending on who's listening.
And that's when the scope has gone back and made a perfect circular mark around somebody's eye.
Yeah, and drawn blood.
Hilarious for everybody else, not so funny for the stalker.
Exactly, yeah. Take the screws down, one turn this side, one turn that side, so that you're not going to twist the scope with the mounts when it's tightening down. And front and back evenly as well, so the scope's not under pressure.
Once the scope is firmly mounted, it's time for the team to descend into the bowels of the earth. Calton Moor is a 100-yard underground pipe, which means you can make as much noise as you like. Nobody can hear you.
Put it on the bench in the rests, took the bolt out, and looking down the line of the scope, so I'm looking perfectly down the centre of the bore.
Yep.
Line that up with one of the targets on the end.
So you look down the barrel.
Looking down the centre of the barrel.
Yep.
Lined it up with one of the targets on the end, and then without moving the gun, just bringing my head off, come in line with the scope, which basically I've moved my eye up about 1.5 inches, which will correspond with this distance. Look through the scope at where the crosshairs are, and then move the crosshairs in to where the point I've aimed at. That will get it on the paper.
You can see all 8 targets down the end of the...
You just have to teach yourself that you centre the barrel on one. So what I did then, I asked Jonathan to aim at the centre of the 8 targets. Therefore we'd got as much space round as we could, so that the bullet was going anywhere, that's where it went, which he did. And as you saw, it went 8 inches to the left, but bang in line. So worked out 8 inches in centimetres, counted my clicks in, had the second shot on a target which I told him to, and that was it, zeroed bang on 1 inch high at 100 yards.
Brilliant.
Which has become a bit of a trademark of mine, zeroing and scoping 2 shots.
So, what's so special about this rifle scope anyway?
This is the 228 by 42, so this is the middle size one, and we're going to be tonight shooting with the 3 to 12 by 50. It's got a bigger objective and slightly more magnification, which I think in the evening is going to be a better idea for us, better on the blazer.
So this is more like rabbits, and what we'll be using is more like foxes.
I think just a bit, perhaps more daytime. Really, it's got a 42, so slightly smaller objectives. But yeah, you know, sit happily on a rimfire or a smaller caliber as well. You know, it's absolutely fine for foxing. But I just think we want to look and see how the 3 to 12 by 50 does on an evening. It's going to be quite dark tonight up here, so think we'll prefer to use that particular model. The mounts are separate, yeah, and that would obviously depend on what rifle you've got. For instance, with the Blaser we're using a Blaser saddle mount, which is specifically for that rifle. Then you just get, with these, you've always got a 30mm tube, so you need 30mm rings. And if you use, a Tikka, you'd perhaps use or Seiko, you'd use their mounts. Warn do some good mounts. They're good, sort of middle of the road one. A lot of people make the mistake of getting very nice rifle, very nice scope, and very cheap mounts, and that's a big mistake. It's a very important part of the mount. It's your interface between your optic on top, what your eye sees, and the rifle underneath. I would say probably 80–90% of the time I get a phone call to say there's something wrong with the scope, it's actually the mounts.
Now that we know that the rifle and scope setup is accurate, we decide to take it out for a fox. Mike has some land where the farmer asks him to do pest control less than a mile from the range. These foxes are easily spooked, so we park up and walk in on them carefully, using binoculars all the way. Yes, and the binos are Zeiss too, of course.
Somewhere in those ash trees. Got pheasants giving off an alarm call, so there's a fox down there somewhere. We need to go and get set up with this call and decoy, see if we can catch him.
It's starting to get dark. Mike chooses a pasture field above a hedge where he's shot plenty of foxes in the past, and he puts out the decoy. It's a long wait, and maybe it's the noise of farm machinery all around, but no fox comes our way.
John, can you actually see anything through that scope?
The scope lasted very well, probably till about 10 to 9, something like that.
I don't know what the times were. I just got daylight.
And then really the light was too low. So now I can't. I can see the grass, but not very clearly. I'd need a lamp now, definitely.
I like the wood quite clearly. We range-finded that, and that was 160 yards.
Can you?
And now I have no. I can see everything now. I can actually zoom in and see everything very, very clearly. That's about 6 magnification.
What difference does good glass, good optics make to you?
Absolutely, makes my job so easy.
I mean, what does it give you? 10 minutes at the end of the day, half an hour at the end of the day?
It gives me a good 20 minutes.
And is that a crucial time?
That's the time when everything happens.
But when the light drops like this and we're out, getting past 8:30 into 9 o'clock, then that's when the quality glass, we were just talking about it, it's when the quality glass really shines through. The binoculars as well, absolutely amazing.
But you found tonight that 7B42s perform so much better than 8B42s, just because of the light gathering.
Yeah, I think you've got a bigger exit pupil.
Yep.
And for me, I can hold them steadier, and that makes a lot of difference.
Yeah.
You can't do anything about the foxes, but at least you can get the glass right. We're back next week when George Digweed is trying out game bore cartridges at West Kent Shooting School. This has been Fieldsports Britain, getting a bit commercial, still loving shooting.